Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. The precedence diagramming method, or PDM, has two main steps, the forward pass and the backward pass. In this video, we're going to focus on the forward pass. Right, how does the forward pass work? Well, the forward pass is what we use to calculate early times, early start, ES, and early finish, EF, for each activity. The pass moves through the network from left to right, starting from the start milestone to the finish milestone. For the very first activity, its earliest start is always set to 0. For all other activities, their ES depends on their predecessors. To determine the ES of a specific activity, the first step is to identify its predecessors. You do this by tracing the origin of the incoming links leading to the start side of the activity. Now, let's look at a couple of scenarios. If the relationship is finish to start, FS, the early start of an activity is equal to the early finish of its predecessor, plus any lag time. If the relationship is start to start, SS, the early start is simply the early start of its predecessor, plus lag. When an activity has multiple predecessors, you take the largest ES calculated from all of them. Now, let's move on to early finish, EF. Naturally, this depends on the activity duration. The longer the task takes, the later it can finish. So, the early finish, EF, is simply the early start, ES, plus the duration. Just like with early start, we also need to identify all predecessors, but this time, we focus on incoming links to the right edge of the activity, or the finish side. If the relationship is finish to finish, FF, the early finish of an activity is equal to the early finish of its predecessor, plus any lag time. If it's start to finish, SF, then the early finish is equal to the early start of the predecessor, plus lag time. Similar to early start, you take the largest early finish calculated from all predecessors. And that's the basic process for calculating early start and early finish times using the forward pass of PDM. All right, let's walk through an example to get familiar with the forward pass process. Here we have a precedence network with 3 activities, A, B, and C. Now remember, for the forward pass, we always move from left to right, starting from the first activity and working our way to the end of the network. Let's start with activity A. Since A is the first activity, its early start must be 0. That means A begins as soon as the project starts. This is true for every PDM network. The ES of the first activity is always set to 0. Now, A has a duration of 3 days, so if it starts at time 0, then it must finish on day 3. That gives us an early finish of 3. Next, following the link from A to B, we see that B starts immediately after A finishes. Since A finishes on day 3, so the early start of B must be 3. To find the early finish of B, we simply add its duration, 4 days, to early start. This gives us an early finish of 7. Now, moving to activity C from B, we follow another finish to start relationship. Since B finishes at 7, that means C can start at 7 as well. Adding the duration of 5 days gives us an early finish of 12. Since C is the last activity in the network, its early finish, 12 days, represents the total project duration. That's it. That's how you calculate early start and early finish using the forward pass method. All right, let's move on to example 2, which is a bit more complex. In this network, activity A is the first activity, so its early start must be 0. Given that its duration is 3 days, that means the early finish of A must be 3. Now, from the finish of A, there are 2 links, one going to the start of B and another going to the start of E. If you do E, you must know the start of B, as its start depends on the start of B. Since you don't know the start time of B yet, so you need to calculate B first. Its early start must be 3, since it depends on the finish of A. B has a duration of 4 days, so its early finish must be 3 plus 4, which is 7. Now that we have the start time for B, we can go back and calculate E's early start. Remember, when calculating early start for any activity, first you find all incoming links to the left side of it. In this case, E's start side has 2 incoming links, one from A's finish and one from B's start. Following the start-to-start relationship between B and E, which has a lag of 2 days, gives us an early start at 3 plus 2, which is 5. Now, based on the finish-to-start logic between A and E could start at 3. However, with the start-to-start relationship from B, we calculated 5. So which value should we take? Always take the larger value, in this case, 5, because taking 3 wouldn't satisfy the dependency between B and E. Now, since E has a duration of 8 days, its early finish must be 5 plus 8, which is 13. Next, let's follow the link from B to C. C's start is preceded only by the finish of B. Its early start would be 7, but with a negative lag of 1 day, it must start 1 day earlier, at 6. Adding the duration of 5 days, its early finish would be 6 plus 5, which is 11. Don't forget that C's finish is also dependent on E's finish, which is 13. Now, we have 2 possible values for C's early finish, 11 and 13. You must take the larger value, 13. To avoid any mistakes, make sure you check all incoming links to the finish side when calculating the early finish time. Now, moving on to the last activity, D, it has only one incoming link to its start, and that link carries a value of 13 from E's finish. So D must start at 13. For D's early finish, adding the duration of 5 to the start gives you 18. However, there's also an FF logic coming from C's finish. This dependency gives us 13 plus 6-day lag time, or 19. Between 18 and 19, take 19, the larger value. Since D is the last activity of the network, its early finish, 19, represents the total project duration. Now we have finished the forward pass and found the ES and EF for every activity. Alright, that wraps up the forward pass. In the next video, we will cover the backward pass to find late start of late finish of these activities. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.